Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Friday edition of the show. Have a pretty good one today. We have a guest. I'll mention who that is here in a moment. But first, welcome to Break the Cycle with DSD. I am your host, Dwayne. I'm not a therapist. I'm an individual much like you who has developed some tips and techniques over the years that I've used to help get my life back that I share with you to help you do the same. Break that cycle of toxic abuse and strengthen the relationship with your kids. If you like what we have going on, nope, see, I got it confused. Only a licensed professional can diagnose an individual with a personality disorder, so be careful throwing around diagnoses. Leave that to the professionals. You don't want to start saying stuff that hurts your credibility because that's pretty much all we have. And once you lose that, things tend to go downhill from there. Then what I meant to say is if you like what we have going on here and you want to support, you can do that by becoming a channel member. Just go over to youtube.com/dadssurvivingdivorce. Look for the join button. And when you click that, you're rewarded with special badges, custom emojis, your name's listed in the credits, and member-only events. And there is one tomorrow. So I posted in the community tab for the members the link for that. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout with that. If you want to get text notification of when the show goes live, you can text DSDLIVE to 844-598-0012, 844-598-0012, and you will get a SMS notification directly to your phone with the link for the show so that whenever YouTube fails us, you have a backup plan so that you don't miss a show. And finally, we are going to try this. We did this the other day with Alex, but we'll try this with this guest today too. If you want to call in and ask a question, and what I mean on that is call in, ask, and make it kind of quick, concise, what exactly you're looking for. You can do that by dialing 1-424-373-5483, 1-424-DSD-LIVE. And on that, let me turn that down. Kris Godinez, let me punch her in, is joining us again. So I guess last time I forgot to do this. So what I will do is before I give the floor over to her, I'll switch this over to this. This is her YouTube channel. We need to talk with Kris Godinez. Kris is a licensed professional counselor in Arizona. So she does a weekly show that she covers, the topic that they've chosen. And then throughout the week, sometimes she'll post questions and answers. And definitely check out her website at krisgodinez.com. Find out more about her, and I'm going to click over here. You can check out the books that she's written right here. So, Kris, how you doing today?
I'm good, my love. How are you?
I feel a little hyper. A little too much energy this morning. But hey, it's a Friday, and we have you joining us, and that always excites me. So,
cool.
What we were talking about for the audience, what we were thinking is like, what would be a good show? And Kris is like, we should talk about the holidays. And I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. I always forget. I always think about that after the holidays start. And right. I think that's a great topic. But before we jump into that, is there anything you want to throw out there real quick before we get started?
You were asking me earlier, what is CBT? What is the modality CBT? So CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive meaning thoughts. So it's addressing the mistaken thoughts, the mistaken beliefs that somebody has that is causing the anxiety, the depression, whatever else is going on. It all boils down to the thoughts. So cognitive behavioral therapy is working on mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs.
Now I've heard before that that's like one of the, I don't know if proven's the right way, but successful for people with like BPD. But it's not just for that, right?
No, it's for anything. So it's kind of mindfulness, but not. I don't know how to explain that. It's like cognitive, meaning you work on the thought patterns. What are the consistent thought patterns? What are you consistently telling yourself? What are you saying to yourself when you wake up in the morning? Are you damning yourself first thing in the morning, or are you nice to yourself first thing in the morning? What are you thinking? Okay. What do you think about this situation? What is this internal critic telling you? That kind of thing. It's a little bit of mindfulness, but it's a lot of cognitive. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Why are you thinking? Why are you feeling? What's the motivation? What's underneath this? That kind of thing.
So, I mean, I think that often, and I know this is kind of veering off a little bit, but I think this is important. I know I've often said to people, look for different things that work for you, right? I mean, I did therapy. I'm not sure what techniques, it wasn't so much that my therapist was saying, we're going to try this technique, so she was doing what she was doing. I was reading books. I did hypnosis. I mean, all these different things, and those together helped me. But that is, I mean, hell, that tool probably would have helped me back in the day too. I mean, so if you're struggling and something hasn't worked yet, be open-minded to try something like that. And I just wanted to throw it out there because I think a lot of people in the narcissistic abuse recovery community have a tendency to think, oh, CBT's for people with personality disorders, so I don't want to be anywhere near there. And that's not really the case.
No, DBT is the one that they use for borderline personality disorder.
Oh, okay, okay.
Dialectic behavioral therapy. Now, you can use CBT for borderline personality disorder as well.
Okay.
But the dialectic behavioral therapy is very much mindfulness based. Very much, it's almost like westernized Buddhism, really, when you think about it. So it's very intense, and it's very mindful based, and and that is the one that has the efficacy with borderline personality disorder if it's in the traits of.
Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I keep hitting the wrong button. Go ahead.
So it's DBT's got efficacy if it's in the traits of stage for borderline. It will not make a difference with narcissism. They do not change. And let's dive into our topic of the holidays. So
yes, absolutely.
When we have a holiday, the big question that I always get is, why do narcissists always ruin every single holiday, every birthday, anniversary, graduations, anything that's important? Why do they do that? It is because they do not have empathy. They cannot feel joy. They cannot feel love. They cannot feel excitement for themselves or another person. You know, the excitement they feel for themselves is all ego-based. So when there is a holiday and it is not about them, they come unglued. They get literally livid that they cannot feel the joy that everybody else is feeling. And that is why they set about to ruin it.
That's a really good point. I mean, because I've experienced, well, not so much the holidays, but I've experienced special events being ruined, and it always messed with my head. I didn't quite understand it, and I mean, it falls into one of those patterns. It's that they do anyway. So it's like everybody seems to experience it. It's like, why do they ruin everything?
Because they don't feel joy, and they're literally livid about it. They are literally angry that they cannot feel the joy that everybody else is feeling. Because you know how it is, like when you walk down the street and there's all the Christmas decorations up and you're like, woo,
yeah.
You know, but a narcissist does not feel that. There is not that organic joy, joie de vivre, of living, of the Christmas season or of Thanksgiving. So anytime that there is a family get together, they are going to cause drama, and they will already have in their mind how to ruin it. Seriously, listen to me now, believe me later. These MFers,
marvelous human beings,
marvelous freaks of nature.
Right.
Seriously, they have in their mind how to ruin it before they even walk into your house or walk into the guest's house. They've already picked out a scapegoat. They've already picked out exactly how they're going to disrupt the party. So what you have to do is you have to have a plan in place. So the easiest way to avoid this, honest to God, don't effing invite them, or don't go where you know they're going to be. That's the easiest way to avoid it. The next thing that you would have to do, if it's not your party, and if you are choosing to go because you want to see other family members,
right,
have a plan. This is why communication is immensely important in dysfunctional families that have that 1 or 2 or 10 narcissists. It's important that the rest of them get together and talk and have a plan. So let me give you an example. We, in our family, there are several, on both John's side and my side, there are several disordered people, correct?
Yeah.
So we would go to a family dinner over at John's family's house. And there was this one family member who has since departed this mortal coil, thank God. Alcoholic, narcissist, disordered like nobody's business. He would come in and he would start insulting everybody. Like he'd make his way around the room and just throw pasta at the wall to see what would stick. And basically everybody got together and was like, don't respond to Tim. Don't say anything. Just pretend it's okay. Just don't say, just gray rock. And at the time, this was years ago. This is before I started studying all of this stuff. And, it worked. Not responding to them worked because he got pissed off because he couldn't poke the bear and he couldn't get anybody to fight with him. So what they do is they either look for somebody to fight with, or they already have in their mind who they're going to fight with.
Right.
So if there is a scapegoat in the family that this particular narcissist or abuser has always picked on, you assign somebody to both and you keep them separate. You keep them separate. So, you know, let's say that Aunt Bertha always picks on cousin Mike, right? So you're going to assign somebody to cousin Mike to keep him safe, and you're going to assign somebody to Aunt Bertha to distract her. Oh, Aunt Bertha, look at that. You know, she's heading over to cousin Mike. Aunt Bertha, I really need your help with the gravy right now. Oh my God, I can't do it without you.
Right.
Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to assign people to protect the scapegoat, and you're going to assign somebody to the problem child, basically, if you choose to have everybody over at dinner. Now, my personal choice would be to be like, you know what, screw you. I'm not having anybody that's dysfunctional over at my house. Have a nice life.
Right.
But if you can't do that, then you've got to assign roles. You've got to assign. So, and they do this at weddings too, guys. I mean, I've seen narcissists literally pitch a fit because the wedding was not about them.
Oh, I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah. So what you do is you assign roles. And here's the thing. You've got to be fearless. You cannot be afraid of these people. And this is what pisses me off, is when family systems go, oh, no, we have to coddle them because their little ego is hurt. And we need to, you know, if we just coddle them, they'll stop having a temper tantrum. No, they will not stop having a tantrum. They will not stop destroying. Their whole goal, listen to me now, believe me later, scorched earth. If they can't feel the joy and the love, they don't want anybody.
No one else can either.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, the problem is, even if you do try that, somebody will do something that slips up, and then they get, I mean, so it's still the, you know, Uncle Tim flips out, and then they'll, instead of blaming or putting blame where it goes, it's like, well, you shouldn't have provoked him. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's like, it's, you know, you're walking on eggshells and you broke an egg, you know, I mean, it's just crazy.
That's why I'm saying 9 times out of 10, it's not worth it going to a family dinner to see Ed when, you know, you're going to be having to put up with 10 different dysfunctional other family members. You know, if you really love Ed that much, go have coffee with them some other time. Seriously, it's just not worth it. But they will. And this is why they ruin it, because they can't feel it. They don't want anybody else to feel it because it enrages them. Have you? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
But if you've ever seen a narcissist have a meltdown because they could not feel, it's not pretty. And every Thanksgiving, the elder boys, when this person got drunk, when Tim got drunk, they would just literally pick him up and carry him out of the house.
Wow.
I know. It's like, oh, okay. So, yeah.
Well, let's flip this around, because I mean, that's great. And I mean, I know that's one aspect of it, but the second aspect of it, and we'll talk about people who are still in a relationship with a toxic person, because I don't know how many times I've talked to people where they've had an experience, a really important, you know, big birthday or something, and their wonderful, supportive husband or wife destroys them emotionally before, and then is at the last minute is able to put on the show, walk in the door all happy, and nobody understands why are you so sad? Why are you not happy? This is your experience. You know, they've ruined it for you, but they're able to put on this presentation to where everyone thinks like, oh my God, you are so lucky that you have such an amazing husband or an amazing wife, you know, that's so supportive, and no one realizes that for the, you know, the last hour before the event, you've been completely emotionally destroyed, and there is no excitement or joy in the event because it's been ruined. I mean, how do you deal with it? I mean, how does a person,
I
mean, I know what the short answer is, GTFO, but you know, how do you deal with that? Sorry.
So it's really hard to heal while you're in the middle of an abusive relationship, because you're constantly getting destroyed. You're constantly having your security ripped out from underneath you, and you're constantly having reality questioned, because the abuser is, like you said, coming in before anybody gets there, and destroying you, just raging and screaming, and nothing you do is right, and you're fat and you're old and you're ugly and you're this and you guns, right? And then, like you said, as soon as the guests come in, they are Prince or Princess Charming. And everybody's looking at you like you're crazy when you say that there's abuse going on. This is intentional, guys. This is intentional. They are setting up the flying monkeys, and they are doing this on purpose. So how do you protect yourself? Well, here's the thing. If somebody ever does that to you, they have shown you who they really are. Healthy, normal people do not seek to harm, destroy, create drama. You know, I ordered a t-shirt and it's got a llama on it and it says only you can prevent drama.
Oh, I love that.
I'm going to wear that. But yeah, so healthy, normal people don't do that. When somebody has a special day, you revel in making it special for them. You revel in their happiness, you know?
Yeah, and even if you, and I would say even to add on to that, a normal person, even if you're kind of annoyed about something, you don't choose that day to pick it. You're like, you know what? This isn't the day. I'll do it the week before, a few days after, whatever. But if there's some serious issue, you let it go at that. I think, you know, you don't destroy the moment because of some issue. You're like, okay, you know, so I guess people, it's amazing how hard it is for people to just take a pause, look at what's going on, believe it, and then make decisions, you know, to try to take their lives back. It's just crazy.
Well, it's partially because the target so desperately wants that illusion of the person who was love bombing them. Why can't they just come back? Why can't they just be, you know, healthy, normal people that they were? Where did my Prince Charming go? Where did this person go? What happened? And so because we are loving and kind and forgiving, we have a tendency to go, oh, well, they didn't mean it. We minimize it. We minimize it because we want them to be the person that we thought they were. And so we go, oh, they didn't really mean it. They didn't, you know, oh, this was a one-off. But here's the thing. Once, total fluke.
Right.
Twice, coincidence. 3 or more times, pattern. Believe it.
It's funny you say that because, and then the flip side to it is the target, and I can say this from experience, is you can make excuses for the person, but then you like forget that you made, they can spin it around to where you feel like all the problems are your fault. And it's not until, at least for me, it wasn't until later when people would say, man, your ex would do all these different things and you would make excuses for it. Because I remember that. I mean, we come in, I mean, my ex, this one story, it was on her birthday. So we went to my dad's house, my dad and my stepmom, and they got her a cake. You know, they were trying to make it a special day. She walks in. I mean, it's just her day, right? I mean, this is her, you know, they're trying to make her feel better, feel good or whatever. And she walks in and she's like, you know, oh, your house is messy. You know, oh, look, there's I mean, and we weren't like super clean, right? My dad and my stepmom were like almost compulsively clean. You know, it's like, you know, you put your hand on the countertop and they're coming behind it to get the fingerprints off. That's the type of people they are. But she would be like, oh, there's a cobweb up in the corner. Oh, chocolate cake. I don't really like chocolate cake. I mean, just a complete and total glorious human being. But I would be like, oh, well, she was nervous. She, you know, I mean, I would always make excuses for it. And it wasn't until much later that I even realized that I was even doing that.
Right. And we don't. When we're in the middle of it, we don't realize that we're making excuses. And the reason why is because we are addicted to those intermittent positive rewards. So when the abuser is good, they're great. And, you know, and that's, I hear this over and over again. But when they're good, it's amazing. Well, yeah, because they're love bombing. And when it's bad, though, it's deadly, like literally deadly. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the other part of this that people need to realize is that, you know, you really have to have the open mind to see, you know, sometimes they're just emotionally abusive, which that can, you know, I mean, that can push you over the edge. But sometimes you're the mouse that's been dropped into the snake cage and you're just bouncing around. Oh, look at my new little friend, not realizing that at any moment when they finally get bored, they're just going to go kabam. I mean, so it's,
I just got and I am from a person who listens to our podcasts, deadly situation.
Yeah.
Post pictures of the bruises and the broken bones and the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. I mean, get out. They've shown you who they are. But our abused brain goes, but, and that is deadly. Denial is deadly. When somebody shows you who they really are, believe them the first time.
Yeah, it's, but I think that's the thing for people need to remember is it's common for people to do that. I was actually talking to a coaching client the other day, and they were in a shelter, and like, well, am I doing the right thing? And I'm like,
yes.
I mean, so we had a long conversation, obviously, but I mean, it's just it's hard. It's hard for people to let go of that fake, and it is fake. It was not real. Love bombing and that illusion. It wasn't reality. It was manipulation.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are also very reluctant to let go of the fantasy of having a happy family.
Oh my God.
So,
ding, I did that.
That's the inner child right there, wanting to have that happy Disney Christmas family. So let's talk a little bit about Hoovers, because this is not only holiday season, it's Hoover
season.
So
happy Hoover to you. Oh, wait a minute.
Between now and February 14th is Hoover season. And on top of that, we also have the pandemic Hoover.
Man.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not even kidding you. I can't tell you the number of clients that have been like, you will not believe who just called me after 10 years.
Oh, I got to punch in for that. So I just want to dwell on that, guys. These people don't stop. They're like a freaking Terminator. Maybe they've been in the closet and they've been powered down. Their little cell has been powered down. As soon as they power back up, they'll come back. Don't fall for it. I mean, if 10 years later they come back, don't think, oh, I'm 10 years. Stay the hell away from them.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Even 10 years later, last year before, I had a client where 20 years she was no contact. 20 years later, the guy calls her up. Oh, baby, I was just thinking about the good times and I really miss you. And it's been so long and I've changed so much. Don't believe it.
Yeah. And if you want to believe it, say, that is so awesome for you. I wish you such the greatest life. Hey, I got to go. Bye. Click. And I know we're kind of distracted, but I want to dwell on that for a moment because, we want the person to get fixed and we want that illusion to go back. It's like once you've dipped your toe into that nightmare, it's over. Stay the hell away from them. Even if they do, I would say maybe best case scenario, if you have children and that change in them, if they've really had some life epiphany and has changed, which is highly unlikely. But if it is true and you guys could then maybe potentially co-parent together in a more effective way, great. But keep your guard up because these people do not stop.
And they don't change. So
let me just
reiterate this.
Sorry.
Narcissists don't apologize. Narcissists do not change. They do not, because they don't feel. They don't have empathy. They don't have that cog. That's why they rage. That's why they're angry when people are happy. That's why they ruin holidays. That's why they ruin weddings. That's why they ruin anniversaries, birthdays, any special occasion. They will even ruin their own birthday. So I've had many examples of a narcissist getting a special present from their target. Like the target goes, oh, I know that this person's really going to love this. And so they give it to them and they rage about it because they can't feel and they're pissed.
So let's roll into one other thing which will probably really key on with my community. And that's whenever you're separated or divorced from a toxic ex and you might be rolling into the holidays and your whole world has been exploded. So you've lost your spouse. Maybe you don't have your kids. I mean, how should somebody who's rolling into the holidays going, oh my God, I'm going to be alone for the first time. And they're dealing with all the triggers and the PTSD of, oh, we used to go drive down and look at all the Christmas lights, or we used to go to that restaurant, or we used to, how do you deal with that whenever you're by, there'll be a second part to this question, but how do you deal with that part of it?
Well, so here's the thing. You are going to be grieving. And in that first year is the hardest because you have to get through all of the new firsts. So the first Thanksgiving, maybe not having the kids, or the first Christmas, not having the kids, or, whatever. And then you throw the pandemic stuff on top of it where we're all completely isolated and we, are being told don't go visit friends and family, that kind of thing. So it's really important to get a support group somewhere, online, obviously, and have that connection. We need connection. We are social animals. And in our society, we're constantly told, no, you can't grieve. Well, this is not something to grieve about. I'm sorry, bullshit. Because you have lost a way of being. You have lost that family unit because the narcissist decided to blow it apart. The kids may or may not be with you. So you are going to be grieving. So in that first year, honor the grief. And you may not feel like celebrating unless the kids are around. Now, if the kids are around, obviously you're going to put on a happy face and put up the Christmas tree and, all of that. But, if the kids are not there, allow yourself to grieve because it is a loss. It is. And the ex will do whatever they can to make it as miserable as possible for you. So my suggestion is create new holiday traditions for yourself. Find an online community that you can get support from. And the best revenge is to live well. So do what you can, but do honor your grief. Write and burn letters. Grieve, cry, allow yourself to feel.
See, I'm glad you finished that last part because I was going to say, well, what does honoring your grief mean? I mean, especially for men, because they're so indoctrinated to, suck it up, don't cry in front of, that's still, I don't know if that's still the case. I know, I'm 50. So, I grew up in that environment, so I'm not going to sit around with a bunch of my buddies and start crying. But, I know for me, and I think part of the issue for me during that period of time when I was going through that, it was like, since I didn't know how to, I guess, honor my grief or honor my emotions, it was incredible the things that would set me off. I would be sitting home watching, a movie, and if it was about a happy family, I would break down. If it was about a broken up family, I would break down. If it was about a family, it was like anything and everything was causing me to basically spiral out of control. And I guess basically what you're saying is what I really needed to do is just sit there and just endure it and feel it.
We have a tendency in this society to push away any emotion that is not happy, right? Yeah. Which is not normal. So especially grief is not honored in this society. When I worked at the New Song Center, which was dealing with children's grief, they lost parents or brothers or sisters or whatever. The parent who had lost a child, there was a sibling that was there and the sibling had died. The parent was told at work 3 days after losing this child that they needed to stop crying.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. So our society does not handle death. It does not handle grief or loss very well. And think about it. How narcissistic are our corporations?
Yeah.
How narcissistic is our society? Narcissists can't handle any emotion that they don't personally want to see. So that's why they get angry when somebody cries. That's why they get angry when somebody is sad. That's why they get angry when somebody is happy, because they cannot feel it.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, no, that's it. It's it's such a tough time for people. Especially whenever, if you're going, so then the flip side to this would be, you do have your kids, and I'm trying to think, because like this was really weird. The first, whenever we separated, so I'm being, for in my situation, I was being the normal smear. I'm emotionally abusive. I'm physically abusive. I shouldn't have. She never said supervised visits. But it was like, you're a piece of crap, so you should only have standard visitation, which that in itself was a weird argument, right? It's like, if you're going to go in, go all in. But the flip side to it was the first holiday, the first Christmas was like, oh, well, you can have them. And she ended up jumping on an airplane and going back and visiting, her family. And, just kind of like bailed on the kids. So Christmas Day, she wasn't here. She was out of state. But anyways, I guess that was more of a statement. But the flip side is, well, go ahead.
Well, this affects the kids because the kids are like, why isn't mom or dad here? Why don't they care enough to celebrate with us? And this is so common, guys. I can't even begin to tell you. So last year, there was a family I was working with, and the mom had set up this beautiful Thanksgiving dinner, invited the ex. They'd been divorced for several years. The ex said, oh, of course I'll be there. Of course never showed. And then the kids were left going, why doesn't daddy love us? Why didn't he care enough to come? Because his excuse was so fucking flimsy. It was just like, you're kidding me. You put together a bike rather than, and went on a bike ride with your buddies rather than spend Thanksgiving with your family.
I mean, well, and then I'll just add on to this. I mean, as a child experiencing this, what my mom would do, and I know we've talked about this before, but she would like, hey, your dad's going to come by. You're going to come by. I literally have memories of sitting in the window, peering through the window, is it time? Is it time? Is it time? And, he doesn't show up. And it wasn't until much later that I realized he never even knew, right? I mean, it was a complete manipulation. I mean, and that was back, I mean, so, like I said, I'm 50. So you roll the clock back to when I was 13, there wasn't cell phones. There weren't even pagers. I mean, it wasn't like I could text dad and say, hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing, where are you, dad? Or something like that. I mean, so it goes, but it's both ways. I mean, it's like, there's people who will do the opposite and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there, and then bail. And it's like, and you brought up a good point, or just kind of, and it kind of ties in together, is then you start going through your head going, well, the kid's going to take it personally. And then the other adult parent is going to be like, that SOB, they did it on purpose. And they did it to hurt me. And it's realistically, it could be just as simple as, hey, at the moment, I decided I was going to go build a bike and go ride with my friends. And it has nothing to do with anybody other than them.
Right. But kids don't realize that. Remember?
Oh, no. No, they don't.
And when I say egocentric, I don't mean egocentric like a narcissist. I mean, they've got that thinking that everything revolves around them. And so it's something that they did or something that they said. I will hear children say that. And it's so heartbreaking because little ones take it personally, and little ones think it's something that they said or that they did that kept mom or dad away. And this is why it is hugely important. Get your children into therapy. If you are divorcing, get your children into a goddamn good therapist. And you're going to start talking to them. You're not going to badmouth the other parent, but you are going to call out the inappropriate behavior. You're going to call it out. This is not normal. It's not about you. You didn't do anything. This is completely on whoever. They're an adult, and it's not your fault that they didn't show up. So you want to be honest with them, because otherwise the kid is going to make it about themselves.
Well, and I mean, just to dovetail on that, I mean, I remember, I think probably both my therapist and the kid's therapist said that. And I'm looking at my kids going, they're fine. I'm thinking that, right? But I mean, I didn't completely discount it, but I will say that later, every one of my children at various ages from, I don't know, like you're talking about like from, maybe 7, 8 years old, maybe up to 14, all said at one point that they thought it was their fault. Yeah. And it blew my mind. I mean, so I just want to dovetail with what Kris is saying here. Kids internalize this stuff. And I know even if you don't like therapy, what we're trying to do is make sure our kids heal these effing wounds now so that they don't have to find somebody to marry, to say, well, my dad never showed up, so I'm going to marry this person that reminds me of my dad subconsciously so that I can prove that he finally loves me. And guess what? You're probably going to get proved that a bad person's a bad person.
Right. Right. So. Because we do that. You're absolutely right. We find a romantic partner that reminds us of the parent that we had the hardest time with. And if we can make this person out here love us, then we prove our family of origin wrong in our little inner child's head. But unfortunately, we have half of a doo-doo sandwich, total doo-doo sandwich.
Yeah. I have Volser. One of the people. Oh, I can't pull it up. He asked, oh, I think I just grabbed the one. What question do you? It was. It's the one right above it. It says, how do you know they're a good therapist? How do you know that the therapist you're finding for your child, or hell, even for yourself? And I know we've talked about this in the past, but if you could just hit it really quick.
You interview them, you talk to them, and you make sure that they are trauma informed, because dealing with a personality disordered parent is traumatic, both for you and the kids. So you make sure that they are trauma informed, and you make sure that they are working on the trauma, self-esteem focused, self-esteem and boundary focused, and you interview them. You interview them like crazy. Now, some therapists can sit there and lie for sure and say,
Right.
oh, yeah, of course I'm trauma focused with this, that, and the other thing. Well, you go in and you sit down and you talk to them. You have a session with them to see if they jive. And if they don't, you don't use them.
Yeah. I mean, basically make sure that you have rapport so that then if you have your kid. Now, I had another person who, I'll just hit this because I can kind of relate to this when I was younger. Merge says, I don't agree with the blanket statement, get your child into therapy. So for people, and what I'll dovetail on that is that when I was younger, not through the divorce, but there was a period of time when I was in high school. I think it was high school. My mom was trying to force me into therapy, and that's kind of, for whatever reason. Oh, I know why. Actually, I'll tell you why. I was trying to think, why was I so against it? For me, I was so against it because there was a period in my life where my mom decided to get to heal herself. So she started going to therapy, and then she started going to Al-Anon, right? And then she realized that she was an alcoholic. And then she realized she was gay. And then she realized, I mean, it's like my whole world blew up disintegrated. And to me, as a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, even though I didn't think I was a kid at the time, but kid, I equated that to, she was semi-normal and then turned into a raving lunatic after going through all this stuff. So I was not interested in anyways, my point is, so going back to the question is, if you don't agree with therapy, or let's say you don't want to do it, and I understand you're probably going to say, hey, get over and do it. But what are some other things somebody can do and let's flip it around. Let's say that therapy is not really an option because there's not there where you live, or, you do interview everybody, or your insurance, the two that they give you, are not any good. I mean, going to a bad therapist could cause more damage. Yeah. So if therapy is not really an option, what should people do?
Well, so remember too, abusers love to pick the therapist that is either brand new to therapy, doesn't understand personality disorders, or is going to align with their agenda. So you do have to be very, 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 very careful if you choose to pick a therapist. Now, if you want to help your children without having therapy involved, you are going to start working on your own self-esteem with the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. You are going to take what you learn from that, and you are going to teach your children. Because what a narcissist does, what an abuser does, is they rip away the self-esteem. They don't want the kids to succeed. Not really. They want them to succeed, but only on their terms. So they're praised for it. Does that make sense? So you want to instill in your children self-esteem like a boss, like no kidding. You're going to teach them mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to be happy, and then walk out. You're going to teach them boundaries. You're going to read The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, and you're going to teach them that the child is not responsible for the adult's happiness. So in working with divorce, oftentimes what the abuser will do is they will parentify the child, and the child will literally say to the other parent, I feel like so-and-so's dad, or I feel like so-and-so's mom. I feel like I'm the adult in the family. No, a child's job is to be a child, but the abuser will try to parentify them. So you must work on boundaries so that they understand they are not responsible for that parent's happiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad you said that. And I mean, and I'm actually glad the question came up, because, that comes up a lot. And a lot of people are like, well, okay, you say, because I recommend people use therapy a lot, but if that doesn't fit with you, but here's the thing, even if you were doing therapy, everything you just listed, you should still do anyways, I mean, so yes. I want to pull up, is this was this the book you were talking about? By Glenn? Yeah. Is that okay. And what was it? And what was the other one you were talking about?
The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, and it's spelled Braiker.
DR. How do you spell
AI.
it? AI.
Braiker.
Baker, you said?
Breaker.
Breaker. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. Never mind. That didn't work. I'll try. Hey, what we'll do is maybe you can send me the links and I'll put them in the show notes so people can find it. We'll do it that way. I thought maybe I can use the technology to do something cool. That was a complete failure. That was funny. There you need a disease breaker right there. $11.95. It'll do 2 amps. Wait a minute. What?
So yeah, you want to work on boundaries. You want to work on self-esteem, because those are the two things that abusers bust through all the time. And with the holiday season, getting back to that, they're going to hoover the kids, guys. They're going to hoover the kids. God. Oh, mommy misses you. Oh, daddy misses you. Wishes you were over here. Guilt.
Oh,
guilt.
Yeah.
Even though you have them on Thanksgiving or on Christmas, the opposing parent is going to be like, and here's the other thing. You must monitor the conversations. You have to, because if they think they can get away with manipulating the child on FaceTime, they will. So you must be there to stop any shenanigans. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so tough though, because I struggled with that because and I actually did. So let me back up. What I did on that is because the kids, when they first came over, they were constantly on the devices, right? So I was trying to pay attention to what was going on. But it's one of those things where it turns into a wedge issue. So, and then what I ended up doing for a while is I would pull the transcripts off the devices and read it. And that was the most painful thing ever, right? I mean, to see in black and white, your kid just throwing you under the bus. But I didn't confront them on it. I used my military OPSEC training, because whenever you learn something secret, you don't blow your methods and your methods and what the other word is.
Right.
But what I ended up doing is I just stopped trying to get involved in it, because I looked at it as a double bind, even though I didn't realize completely what that was at the time. And it was like, okay, what's the best of the worst solution, right? So if I stick my nose in there, the kids are going like, why are mommy says you do all this and yada yada. It was just making things worse. And I was like, okay, well, if I do it this other way, then it kind of minimized it. But what the other thing I ended up doing, just to stop the time in the day, is I turned on the parental features of my router, so the network dropped at 10 o'clock every night or whatever the time was during school. And the cell service for the kids that had phones had a family, Verizon has like the family plan or something, or family limits or something, to where you literally can say between these hours, you cannot make phone calls, you cannot text, you cannot have access to the internet from the cellular side. And thank God it was during school time, because then I could say, look, you need to go to bed. And, I didn't say to him, hey, I'm sick of the fact that 11 o'clock at night, you're texting your mom,
Right.
So
right.
Anyways, that was the approach that
I think that's a good idea. What I'm talking about though, is that some abusers are so arrogant and so blatant that they will get the kid on FaceTime and start manipulating. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but let me flip this around, because this is what a lot of people on my side, on my channel, and even on some coaching calls I've had, it's like, I'm sitting here, I only get FaceTime with my kid, and the mom won't leave. It's like they're standing right above, listening to everything. I can't have a private conversation, and the child can't calm down because the abusive person is right there. The only reason I bring that up is because I would imagine there's some people watching this that are listening to what you're saying and going, that's exactly what my ex does. I can't even get a moment with my child without.
And that is a problem. But it's, again, it's like, you have to know what the ex though is saying to the kid. If the abuser is the one that is got the kid, does that make sense? To kind of like head off at the pass, whatever bullshit the abuser is trying to pull. But yeah, I totally understand that. There are, so like on the flip side, like you said, they will stand there, they will sit there. There's no private conversations. The child is not able to communicate. Here's something else that's scary, is that the healthy ex will give the child phones so that they can call the parent in case there's an emergency, and the abuser will take the phones away from them and not allow them to have them, or they will go through every single text. And there is no safe way to communicate with your child, unfortunately, when they're in the abuser's house. There's just not, and I don't know what to do about that, because again, this is a family courts issue. It really is. The family courts do not understand how abusers think and what they do and the lengths that they will go to alienate that child, to harm that child, to hurt you through the child.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They just don't get it.
Or they don't even care. I mean, I was thinking of an article I'm trying to think how to say this, but because I don't want to be totally depressing, but there was an article someone shared with me in the UK where a toxic divorce was going on. I think there was physical violence from it before, and the court systems completely failed. So like the initial judge had said, okay, keep the person away. A new judge comes in and they're like temporary, the person says, hey, I want to be able to see my kids. They grant access. They're going through this hearing, and 3 days before the ruling comes out where that was going to say, well, in this situation, it was that the dad should not be around. The mom takes herself out. 3 days later, the court ruling comes down to say that she would have gotten full custody, and dad was absolutely not supposed to be around the kids, ultimately to the effect that the kids were actually awarded to someone other than the dad. But it's like the system is not geared up to deal with this stuff. It isn't.
They're not trained in personality disorders, and 99, like we've said before, 99% of the cases are going to be personality disorder fueled divorces and custody cases. Those are the ones that do the crazy scorched earth policy kind of divorces and custody cases. So
one other thing, let me just add one other thing I just want to say to anyone who's listening to this. The key point on this, and I understand how stressful it is before a decision comes out, because I know how stressed I was when I was waiting for the custody evaluation. And I mean, I was just constantly I was spiraling out of control. Wait until everything comes out, right? I mean, don't don't claim defeat from the hands of victory. Give yourself a chance to see that what comes out, what the ruling is, maybe look at your options from there, but just don't prematurely do. And I understand it's so easy for me, not easy for me to say it, because I do remember how hard it was for me, but you gotta give yourself a little bit of time. 3 days in that story,
Well, but remember, that is the abuser's objective, is to get you to kill yourself.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's what they want. That's ultimately what they want. They want their target dead. It is the ultimate power control issue, and it is the ultimate ha ha ha, I won.
Yeah.
So with the holidays, keep in mind, the abuser is going to make it as miserable as possible. If this is your first year being divorced, you must take really good care of yourself. That means hanging around people that are supportive and loving. That means eating healthy foods, not all the sugary, sweet stuff that's wonderful, but exercising, getting outside into the sunshine, get some vitamin D. Thank you very much. Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see where I'm going with that? Because what the abuser wants is for us to die. They want us to die. They want us to kill us. They want us to give up hope. They are the black hole of hope. They don't want us to have hope. So there are going to be some rough times in this first year. You're going to have to go through all of the first. So you're going to have to come up with new holiday traditions and make it fun for you. Yes, your brain is going to go, oh, yes, I remember when we did, caroling down this street and this, that, and the other thing. But you're going to have to come up with new holiday traditions and make them your own and live in joy, because that's what they don't want.
Yeah, and give yourself time to reacclimate to this new normal. I can remember back at the beginning stages of mine where it felt like it was just dark days. It was like there was, the pain wasn't going to go away. There was no way to recover from this. And I look at it now. I mean, I'm 9 years plus from this thing, and it's like the reality is the destruction of my marriage and the pain I felt through that, and the betrayal, and I don't mean like cheating betrayal, but I'm just talking about betrayal of trust. For somebody in my situation, for somebody who's known me for 20 years that I would have died for, who now I can see is using every piece of information from 2 decades of us together, plus anything that I had said about my previous, time before we met and got married, is now being drug into court to try to destroy my reputation and my resolve, my hope, just for their own personal gain. I mean, it's like, I would never, if you told me something, Kris, if you told me something in private and was very personal to you, and then we had a falling out, even if I got to the point I hated you, I would not violate that trust.
Right. That's what normal people do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't go on smear campaigns, but the abuser does. Now, let's talk about presence. I want to talk about presence because the abuser will do one of two things. They will either shower the kids with tons of presents trying to buy their love, which is a possibility, or they won't give the kids anything, or they'll give them very little because they're trying to hurt you. Or you'll get them presents. The presents will go back over to the ex's house, and then the kid will never be allowed to bring it back over to your house ever again.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
No, I finally, the way I made my peace with that is, and this even went with clothes, because, that was happening with clothes. I'd get clothes, I'd send them over, they'd never come back. They'd come back with things too small, and I didn't have the money to keep buying. Thank God I had really good friends who were, like, hey, here's some clothes that from so-and-so, it was hand-me-down type stuff, but some of it was brand new with the tag still on it. But I finally just said, you know what? It's maybe a couple of things that were like super important. I wouldn't let them take over, like maybe some expensive electronic thing or something. But I'm like, you know what? It's yours. I gave it to you. If it goes over there, then fine, because it gets to be a problem, because then you're constantly fighting with the person.
Exactly.
And that's what they want.
Yeah, they want a dysfunctional connection rather than no fight at all, because they are used to chaos. And so they will manufacture chaos any way that they can. So basically, you have to pick your battles. You have to pick your battles. Is it really worth it to fight over the present, or mention the fact that they are, smothering the kid in presents or whatever? And what you want to do is you want to have an open conversation with your child. It's like, you be honest with your kid. You talk to your kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you establish boundaries with your child. Please do not discuss my personal business with your mom, because that is my personal business. Do you see where I'm going? Because that's the other thing that abusers will do, is they'll pump that kid for information.
Oh my God. The thing is that it's funny you say that, because I remember having that conversation, and then that got spun to, the kids wouldn't tell me anything that was going on over at mom. Nothing. Zero. Right. And then at one point I did say something like that, and it came back to me came back around that I was telling the kids to keep secrets from her. I finally got to the point, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care anymore. There's only one thing I've told the kids I don't want them to say to their mom, and is that I do YouTube. And they don't really know what I do, but I don't want, that is the only thing I've said to them in the last 9 years, that I said, do not talk about this. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't effing care anymore. Because I can't control,
Right, exactly. And here's the thing, though. If you're teaching your kids boundaries and they understand the importance of their own privacy,
right,
they understand the importance of your privacy. Even though the abusive parent is pumping them for information, trying to make them feel guilty. So remember, any relationship that makes you feel fearful, obligated, guilty, fog, that is a toxic relationship. And you teach your child that. You teach your child that. So that if
that was a missing piece for me, I guess, early on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, it just got to the point. What I ended up doing is like, okay, if there's something I don't want the kid, or I don't want the ex to know, I just don't tell the kids, because it just turned into a mess. I remember I remember another point. My son has a disability, and we were talking about him being able to drive, and he needed to do some extra testing to do it. And I was in an IEP at one point, and the teacher, one of the advisors or whatever, is like, well, what about, doing your driver's testing? And my son's like, oh, well, some people say I can't do it. And I'm like, who the hell said that? And my ex is like, you did, right? So everything I said, my kids would say to their mom, and then she would spin it to make me look like a piece of crap. And I'm like, it was out of context. It's like, I didn't say that. I said, we have to go through, your neurologist said you have to go through these other tests to make sure that you're safe to drive. It doesn't mean you can't. There's just extra steps you have to do, but it was like everything I said got completely spun.
This is why it is important. This is why it is a good idea to go to a good therapist with the kids to explain what healthy communication is. Healthy communication is not flipping the script. Healthy communication is not manipulation. Healthy communication is not, bad mouthing the other parent. So instead of directly saying, hey, mom or dad is a liar, you start working on, is this healthy communication or is this not?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Kids are not stupid, guys. They'll figure it out. But if they're only getting that manipulation coming in at them and they're not getting the healthy stuff, they're going to go with the not healthy stuff. That's why I'm saying, get them with the healthy stuff. Teach them what manipulation is and how to avoid it. Teach them what flipping the script is and how to see it. Teach them fear, obligation, guilt, toxic relationship. Hello.
Well, and I would say on that is, and especially as the kids get a little bit older, a lot of those behaviors are stages that kids go through. So it's super easy to find examples of it with little Timmy's friend, Susie or Billy or whatever. I mean, so you don't have to turn around and say, your mom is doing this, this, and this, and it's wrong. And that's what I would do is I would try to find examples that kind of correlated with what the ex was doing, but was in their peer group or some other not related to either myself or their mom, to say, hey, is that really the appropriate behavior? Is that really how you want to be treated? Is that really, and
is that how you want to treat other people? Is that what you want to be known as? Yeah,
exactly.
So to wrap up, because I have an 8:00 appointment, so it's 7:00.
Yeah, we're about out of time.
8:00 here. To wrap up, in the holiday season, there are going to be Hoovers. Don't fall for them. They're going to do the holiday Hoover. Oh, baby. Do you remember Christmas? Do you remember Thanksgiving? Do you remember how much we loved doing this, being together, blah, blah, blah. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for the pandemic Hoovers. Oh my God, everybody's dying. We need to be together. Now is the time to get back. Don't fall for it. If you have got toxic family, you can choose to not go, or you can choose to not invite them. It's okay. Or you assign roles so that they can't start their drama. It's very hard for them to pick up drama if their plans in their head gets disrupted. So keep them distracted. That's the best thing to do. The holiday season is going to be hard on the kids too, because it's new, it's weird, it's different. They're not with you, or they're with the ex or whatever. So good communication with them, and just take really good care of yourselves. That's really the best advice.
Hey, Kris, thanks for joining us today. I know you got to run, but thanks so much. Great discussion. That went fast. We didn't even get a chance to take a phone call. So maybe next time we'll have to do that. So have a great rest of your day, and thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. I know we got a little bit of time. Let me look and see what else we got going on. I know I'm gonna grab this just because I do agree with it. Merge says, no, we teach our children boundaries. Live by example after you work on yourself. That is so critically important. Therapy is not a parent or a moral compass. No, it's an addition to, potentially, if you support that. I know Merge doesn't like the therapy option, but it's not the replacement for. And I'm glad you said that, because that's a key point to remember to hit on. Is it's all combined together. You can't just find someone and say, okay, well, I found a therapist that's going to teach my kids how to deal with everything, and I'm not going to do my part. That is absolutely not the case. So, and the last part is the therapist is not a parent or a moral compass. We are. Absolutely agree on that. On that, guys, hey, thanks you for hanging out with me today. I will be posting more information about the member-only event that's happening tomorrow. On top of that, I'm going to have a guest segment on, I forgot the name of it again, but on Stevie J's podcast. It's a fundraising event to talk about the Johnny Depp thing. I'll be on that tomorrow. I'll put a link in the community tab for that video or for that live stream so you guys can check it out. And on that, the final thing I want to say is just thank you to the channel members who so graciously have clicked the button and are help support the channel financially to keep the lights on and the phone systems up and all that kind of good stuff. So on that, have a great rest of your day, and I will see some people tomorrow. on those other streams, and I'll be back on Monday.